I'm Byron Alvarado, Vice President of Strategy Partners, financial strategist. I'm going to actually go off the topic of Dr. Roger of chronic illness, right? He talked about we all wait, but really when someone has chronic illness, they're putting up with pain, but they get to the point, well, they'll need help. Someone's going to help them just do their daily activities, which is really long-term care. So that's something that, if you're planning for retirement, your retirement should include long-term care. They're not exclusive. Because if you're not spending money on traveling, you're probably spending money, not if you're seeing Dr. Roger and some other health professionals here, on higher expenses. And what does that do? That just makes you spend everything you worked 30, 40 years and built up from your assets. You know, a lot of people have the misconception that you can self-insure, but you guys can look up long-term care, what the expenses are. I don't know, you're going to be 1 year or 10 years. And what long-term care means in the insurance industry is if you can't do 2 out of the 6 daily activities. So think of anything you do when you wake up in the morning. Get out of bed, dress yourself, feed yourself, go to the bathroom. So any of those things that you can't do, and even just maybe physically, maybe mentally, because Alzheimer's and dementia is one of the big things that's coming as we're living longer. And I agree with Dr. Rogers, what's the quality of life that you're living? So obviously here, I'm not the health professional, but I'm a health professional on your assets, on your money. So it's something that we don't want to talk about. It's something that may not happen, but the longer you live, which is what we all are aiming for, is your money healthy enough to add that, to absorb that higher expense? So there's a few ways to tackle long-term care type expenses. One is, and I get this, it's the government. The government's going to help me. Medicare is going to help me. Well, let me tell you this, or Medicaid. There are people who qualify for those programs, but you can't have assets. You can't have more than $2,000 in the bank, a primary home. But you got to basically be poor, or you got to give your assets away 5 years in advance. So how many people really want to, if they have assets, give everything away? Not knowing if it's going to happen, but you have to pre-plan. Second, I'd say, well, go to those facilities. Do you really want to be in facilities with 2, 3, 4, 5 people when you're not feeling good in chronic care? I mean, that is a plan. I'm not going to judge, but that is a plan. People just have to know. The second way is I'm going to self-insure. I have my real estate, I have my IRAs, which are good assets. But what if you have to sell those things because you need the cash flow to meet those higher expenses? Well, that's great. But if you have long-term care, a long event, you may run out, and while I'm still alive, I may go back to state facility, which I don't want to go into. Second thing that happens in self-insurance is I wanted to leave something behind for little Johnny, my grandkids, my church, my charity. Well, that's off the table. So use your assets what they're meant to be for. It's really to enjoy. And there's third way to do it is use insurances. People hate the word insurance, but there's all different types of insurances. So what you're doing with insurance, you're transferring the risk of that event. In this case, it's long-term care. What you're really doing in my eyes, because I'm a money guy, is you're protecting your assets that you do not want to use for long-term care for your spouse to live off of, or for your kids or grandkids or charity. So it's really leveraging your dollars. And even within that world, there's many different long-term care products. There's some that you said, if I never use it, I lose it, right? Like auto insurance. If I never file a claim, I've paid whatever I paid into it, and I just drop dead. Well, it's changed. Actually, I like to use other products that if you don't need it for long-term care, there's a return of premium or there's money back to your heirs. But if you do need it, you're actually using the insurance, some of your money, but then you get into the insurance company's money, and what you do is you keep your estate intact. So there has to be reasons. We have to forward think what our strategy is going to be. If we're planning to get into retirement, And if you're working with someone in retirement, ask them, how does my plan work if a long-term care event happens, or if my higher expense increases by 20, 30%? We can control in retirement. We're low on money because the market did some things, we overspent, one less Christmas gift, one less vacation. It's not ideal. My clients aren't situated that way. But when a long-term care happens, unless you don't want the care, because you want those assets to go somewhere else, then you're gonna just, I'll be blunt, you're not gonna get the care, you're gonna have a miserable life, and you're gonna then die earlier. So, long-term care, anything you get out of here should be part of your retirement planning, because it's all income planning. Okay, so right now that's what I have. So I'm gonna, if anyone has any questions about long-term care, what I talked about. Did I scare everybody? Too much?
Question. Is there an order in which you usually suggest with people in their saving plans that if they're starting off, they have something going, maybe they have a 401k, do you suggest, okay, it has to be an IRA or something else before they look at long-term care, or what, is there a pecking order?
There is actually a pecking order that I would recommend. Long-term care can happen at any time. Superman, Christopher Reeves, fell off a horse, in his 40s? Right, he just didn't lose his income, but he also had higher expense of long-term care. But most people, I suggest to start looking at long-term care probably from the age of 50 to 65. One is they're at the peak earning years. If they've saved, they have something to protect already, right? So that's when I would suggest to take a look at protecting their future assets, what's going to grow to that age 65 when they're starting to retire, which, again, if they're not working with these professionals, their chances increases that I'm going to save their bacon, and they're going to have a lot more assets. So that's what I would recommend. The sweet spots. And also the pricing's better on the insurance. They're probably still healthy to qualify, because anything insurance solution they have to be healthy enough to qualify for. Gloria.
Switch to taxes. You learned something. Just a little bit about something recently. Drawing from your retirement account and the ramifications of your tax liability. Can you say something on that?
Yeah, okay, so everyone always wants a tax deferral. Your CPA is going to say, let me get tax deferral right now because we don't want to pay taxes. One thing you have to consider is you're deferring and compounding your tax liability later. It's not bad, you just have to know what that is. And I would probably, if someone thinks that they're going to live off less money in the future and need less money, I think they're probably mistaken. Because there's something called inflation that's going to make you need to draw out more money, that makes you go through the tax brackets. So any tax deferral plan is 401ks, you may know people, IRAs, SEP IRAs for those self-employed. So there's plans there. I'm just a big advocate of not just having all your eggs in one basket, all in tax deferral. So how do you balance taxation at the end? So to wrap that around with your question, imagine this, you're living whatever you're living, 60, 70% of what you were earning, you're happy with it, taxes are equal. And you hate paying taxes. Well, you're no longer working, so your assets have to do everything for you. And now the only place you have to pull is tax deferral income. So just to get your $100,000, you have to sell $130,000, let's say, because of whatever taxes. So that makes all of a sudden compound the problem that you're actually reducing your assets at a faster rate because of taxation is taking a big chunk of it, and that long-term care expense is fixed. It is what it is, right? And it's only going to go up the cost of that type of care in the future. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, and as far as, your first, when you're going to pay when you draw. You're
going to pay ordinary income taxes, whatever that may be, whatever you have.
Whatever your tax bracket is.
Yeah, whatever your tax bracket's going to be. Kids are out of the house is paid off. Most people don't even have any tax deductions along the way, and that big pot is all taxable. So I work well with CPAs because they're right now, I'm looking 10, 20, 30 years, 40 years in the future. Stacy.
So quick question. Isn't there a new type, I guess it's come out in the last, I don't know how many years, of insurance similar where you can borrow against it, so you're without being penalized?
Yeah, there's insurances or assets that does multiple things for you, and I'll wrap this up real quick. So one thing, there's no silver bullet. There's no product that's gonna make everything. I don't care if it's real estate, it's business, it's mutual funds, IRA, stocks, bonds, money under the mattress, a CD, right? It doesn't. Believe me, I've come across people with 100,000 on the mattress, like. And then I look at the insurance policy, I'm like, you gotta talk to Patty because how are you gonna prove that's there if something happens, right? Burns down. So, to answer your question, yeah, there's policies out there that you can build it along, and it should be a piece of everything else you're doing,
Right.
but that you can borrow against, so similar to a house in real estate that I compare. And it can be tax-free. So I'm a big advocate of tax-free income along with taxable.
Right.
And you have to think, what's my Social Security how does that relate? So again, my job here is to show you how to be the best steward of your money to get the most out of it. I mean, and there's a lot of things in between, but that's ultimately what clients want. Maximum income, also need emergency fund, and then if they want a legacy, they'll have a legacy. So anyways, I'm out of time. I appreciate allowing me to jump right in.
Good job, Byron.